We're going to start now. We're going to do our roller sets. There's 4 basic types of rollers that I want you to be able to do to know how the placement of the rollers go on. We're all going to be using the same type of roller, and that's a magnetic roller, and you should all have your magnetic roller set. And so these are what these are, is the magnetic rollers. So we're all going to start with these, and your mannequin should be wet and combed through. Comb through nicely, remember with your pick. At this part, I would suggest that this would be a really bad thing to do, is to go through here with this brush. This brush is not meant to go on the hair when it's wet. It pulls the hair in too many directions and stretches it in so many different parts that you're going to cause some excess damage on the hair that you do not want with the hair. So whenever you're working with wet hair, this brush does not belong. Okay, so if you've got this and you're working with this with wet hair, please put this brush back. It doesn't belong with this one. We're mainly in the wet hair going to be working with the pick to comb through it to get the knots through, and then we can go into our tail comb or our all-purpose comb. For now, we're going to deal just strictly with our tail comb. Okay, you've got your magnetic rollers. I'm going to suggest first that you probably use the biggest rollers that you have. Save yourself some time and some energy and use the largest ones, and I'll show you why that's going to happen. We're just going to deal with 4 different types of rollers. I'm going to put 3 rollers here and 1 here. They're not going to be any style at all. They're simply going to be showing you how to get different volumes from the same roller. From on top in here, and again, when we're taking our roller, we just want to take this roller so that we have it exactly the right width. So I don't want it any wider than the roller. Okay, so I'm just going to take this, and the same parting techniques you used before. You're taking your comb, you're not lifting it from the scalp, separating the hair, what's on one side of the comb from the other. That should give you a very clean line, and that line should extend for both sides. Same thing, you do not want the hair to come out past the roller. It will end up falling off the ends of it. So don't lift that tail comb off the scalp, and just come up, and you've got both sides of it. Combing down the one side, and that should give you a fairly nice clean edge in here. If you're having trouble with that, go back and just do the parting techniques again, because that is really important, and it is key to all of your hair techniques to be able to part the hair well. So now when I'm in here, I want to make sure I've got it the right length there. So I want to make sure that it's no wider than this roller as well. So I just sit it upright like this just to make sure that I've got it. And I drag the comb along the scalp, never lifting it from the scalp. And I should have, if I take the hair from the one side of the comb, pull back the other ones. Oh, you can see where I probably did lift the comb a little bit here because the line is not perfect. And we can just go back in and fix that and just drag the comb along the scalp, not lifting it. And then taking the hair from the one side and bringing it over. Okay, so you should have a very nice clean section here. Now remember, I'm getting a little bit of tangles in here, so I have to go back out to the ends and comb out the ends of it here. Now remember, this is the base. This rectangular panel right here is the base. That's what we refer to when we're referring to is this on base, half off base, or off base. We're talking about when I'm finished, does the roller sit entirely on top of that base? Or does it sit half on top of the base? Or does it sit completely off of the base? So that's where we're going. On base is going to be the most volume, half off is going to be medium volume, and completely off is going to be the lowest volume for this roller type. So make sure when you're in there, you are combing very smooth on the scalp. That's going to be important for any of your combing techniques. You want that clean right from the scalp all the way to the ends. Holding this one at a 45-degree angle. Putting the hair around the roller. Oh, I seem to have, I don't know what that hair is doing. Doesn't want to behave there. We'll just hold it down as we roll. And I'm pulling up as I'm rolling down just to give that tension. And then one roller. Centered right at the base of it. just one roller, and you can see this roller sits nicely on top of the base. You never want to see clips coming up here. If you do, when the hair dries, it's going to leave a big line in the hair, and it's not going to be good. Ask yourself, if you feel like you need to use 2 clips or more up here, is there something you did wrong before that? Did you take too much hair that it seems to be falling off the roller? Did you maybe not wrap it with enough tension that it feels like it's going to fall off? You need to roll this nice and tight tension all the way to the bottom, and 1 clip is all you need. Okay, so that's our on-base roller sitting exactly on the base. So we're going to do the same thing. I need the same section. I'm going to use another one of the larger red rollers. The same thing, I want it the same width, and I don't want it, the length and width need to be the same, otherwise I'll have too much hair on the roller. This one is going to be called, this one is called the half-off roller. It's half-off base because when I roll this hair, it is going to come and be half off this base. It's going to sit half on top of it and half off. Oh, I seem to have a little piece of hair in there that doesn't want to go up. When you're rolling half off base, the on base roller needed to be held at 45 degrees. You can see that this angle was 45 degrees. Now that was for your on base. Now your half off is going to be going straight up from the head. We'll talk a little bit about being straight up from the head or at a 90-degree angle from the head when we get to different parts of the head for this. Again, same concept, you need to be combing that hair very smooth. Your comb is touching right on the scalp and you're going all the way up, sliding your fingers along with it. You can set your comb down and grab your roller. At this point I think I've started to move my angle a little more like on base, so I'm just going to recomb that one more time so that it's straight up. Then I'm going to put my magnetic roller down. I can hold it with my one hand. I'm holding the hair and the roller because my thumb is on the inside of that roller. If the hair is wet enough, it is just going to simply stick to this roller. If some of your hair has fallen down, not a big deal, you can pick it back up and put it on. But you need to have it spread out from end to end. You're not pinching this together. Again, as I roll down, I'm pulling up with a fair amount of tension as I roll down. And the pulling up is going to give me the nice smoothness that I want for this roller. And again, it's the same rule applies here. When you pin this, you are going to pin it right in the center of this roller. So you're going to take your clip, 1 clip only, and right in the center of the roller. And these should be fairly secure. So have a look. This roller here is sitting on the base, and now you can see that my base for this roller was from here to here, but my roller is really only sitting half on top of it. It's not covering the entire base, it's only covering half of it. So that's half off. This is going to be for a medium amount of volume. This would be very full hairstyle if you did this all over. This one is going to be a little less volume here in a half off. So let's do the third one here, and we're calling this one is off base. And again, if this one sat on the base, and if this one sat half off the base, the off base is going to sit off the base. So let's go in there and make sure I've got the right size section. Make sure I've got the right size base in there. It's a little bit difficult when you're doing these ones because you see the half off base is covering part of the base for my off base one here. But that's not too much of a problem. We just want to make sure we're still combing nice and smooth right from the roots to the ends. And you could slide your fingers around. Now if I held the on base one at 45 degrees, the half off base at 90 degrees, now I'm going to hold the off base one at 180 degrees, okay? And this is going to give me a very flat roller, the least amount of volume I could get with this roller. If you're finding the hair is getting a little bit too dry at this point, perhaps that's where mine is getting, just take that section of hair. You could mist the entire mannequin if you like. Just take that section of hair, give it a little mist with water, and try again. Same concept, I can still hold on to that. The hair will be entirely around that roller. Nice tension, I'm pulling back as I'm rolling forward. And then as you can see, this one sits, just like the name suggests, entirely off the base. The base is up in here and the roller is sitting off. This part of the curl is called the stem, and so you can see the stem has been exaggerated to go off the base. Where we have a really short stem, you can't even really see what's happening in here with the stem because the roller is entirely on the base. Here we are, half off and then off. So again, the most volume, medium volume, and the least amount of volume. Now let's do another one. I'm going to have to move my roller onto the side to show you an indentation because this half off, or this off base roller, is going to be in my way. So I'm going to come off to the side of the hair, and I'm going to take the same size section. I'm going to make sure that it's no longer than my roller. It has to come to here. And that it's no fatter than my roller. At the hairline, it gets a little bit more difficult with the base size because you can see the hairline does have a bit of a curve pattern to it, so it's not a nice straight line in there. So you will have perhaps a little bit more trouble in here. Now what I'm going to do is an indentation roller. Really, all of these ones, I would have said these were curled under. This one, we'll call it an indentation. Probably if you said this was the roller that's flipped up, that's probably more accurate. But if we're going to be talking about the proper terms here, this one is the indentation roller. And this one is going to be very flat at the roots, but then it's going to flip up. So comb the hair nice and smooth, follow with your fingers of the other hand just to make sure it's staying smooth. The difference here is with all the other rollers, I put the roller underneath the hair. Now with the indentation, the roller goes on top of the hair. And so I'm holding this at a very low elevation. And if this is wet enough, this should all stick onto the roller, okay? And then as we have this onto the roller, I roll up and I'm still pulling away from that base as I roll up. If at any time you have some hairs that pop up and you've wetted and it's still doing that, you can just tuck them in with your tail comb. It's one of the nice things about the tail comb, and if you just tuck it in, you'll make sure it goes all the way around nicely. And all the way to the top for the indentation. And then the roller is going to clip. So this one you should see still only one roller, but this one, if I let this out once it dried, it's going to be going up. And it will be very flat at the root, versus these ones are all going under. So what I want you to do at this stage, this is where you need to stop at this stage, and you need to practice this on your mannequin. Just these 4 roller placements in there. Take your mannequin, it might take you a few times to try it out. Take a picture in the end from all the angles so that we can have a look and give you some feedback and so that you can self-reflect on it yourself. I'm going to go in and we're going to do our very first full head of a roller set. Because you now know 4 different techniques for putting in these magnetic rollers, we're going to use all 4 of those techniques on this head. Maybe you wouldn't for most people that you're at, but we're going to try to use as much of the knowledge that we have onto this mannequin. So I really want you to come in, and before you even start, you're going to need to section your mannequin. And you're sectioning it according to the areas of what we're doing with the roller. So in the front here, and I don't know if you can see this more from front to back, I've got just the front part from just to the back of the ear all the way up over top to the other ear. That's sectioned off and coming forward. And for me on my mannequin, I wanted her to have a part on the side, so my mannequin is parted off to the side. If you want yours in the middle, great, you can do what you like there. But I do want a distinct section of the 2 different sides. Now in the back, in the crown area up here, This is where most people will be using on base because you're going to want the most volume in here when you're using it. So for this entire section right here, we're going to do this section here on base with our rollers. So we've got half off in the front sections, that's we're going to do the least amount of volume. We're going to do the most amount of volume up in the crown. And then for this middle section, right around the occipital bone up to the crown, we have this section here that we're going to be doing half off base, so just for a medium volume. And then down on the bottom, we're going to be doing our indentation, so this flips up. So maybe you can get a visual from the side of what's going to happen. This is going to have a lot of volume, and then it's going to come down in here, and we're going to have less volume when we get into our half off base, and then coming down into the flip. And the sides are simply going to be the lowest volume we can get, so the least amount of volume, and coming down forward in here. So if you want to, this is the stage where you're going to stop and you're going to section your mannequin. Make sure she has 1, 2, 3 sections in the back. Remembering this is the entire occipital area up in here, sorry. This is the occipital area down here. This is the entire crown area up here that we have parted out. And then we have our side sections. We're going to start off with this one, this bottom section. I've taken it out of the clip and it's down here. This is the one we're going to be doing the indentation. So these are the ones where our rollers are going to be flipped up. Now I want to try to use everything as much as possible with my large red rollers. If I run out by the time I get to the top, I'm going to switch to a different color the next size up. So here I am, and I'm going to want to start this one on the bottom. I think that if I take this section approximately in half, that should, yep, that's about the right width for my roller. So I'm good. I'm just going to separate this section in half. And here's my first row of rollers. Now I'm just going to take the red ones. Remember, we want them about the same width as the roller and the same length. So remember, nice clean sections in here. You don't want to lift the tail comb from the scalp when you're coming in there. You're just simply going down. That's about the right size base. And for the indentation, these ones can be held at a low volume. And your roller is going to go on the top. Because what we're going to do is we're going to roll up. Again, watch your tension. And then I'm going to put that in there. Now, did I miss a piece? I did miss a little hair. You know what? If that's the same that's happened to you, not a big deal. Take the time it takes to unroll that roller and put that hair back in. Then the same thing, all the clipping for all the rollers is one pin right at the center base. Okay, then we're just going to move over and move beside, and we'll work with the other one. Let's see, this particular section might be a little bit long. You can see I have some extra hair over here that isn't going to fit into another full roller. That's what these half rollers are going to be used for in the end. Okay? So I want to still make sure my next roller is the same length. If it's too wide, the hair is just going to fall off the roller. And comb it nice and smooth right up from the roots down to the bottom. Put your roller there. Roll this one straight up. Again, same thing, one pin right at the center of the base. You may have to move this over just a bit to try to get in there to where that pin should go, but then it will hide itself right inside the other roller. Then we're moving over to our last section, and you'll see that this is just, whoops. If at any point you drop your comb during an actual client service, you need to take this comb, sanitize it, get a brand new one. It's going to take too long to sanitize this comb for your client. They'd have to wait about 10 minutes for the full sanitation. So put this one away and sanitize it, get them a new one. And our last roller here. So remember, these ones are going to have that flip up on the bottom. Now I'm into my last roller. It doesn't matter if I clip it on one side or the other. I'm just going to put this one on the other side. It'll keep it out of the way. So that's my first row. I'm going to repeat that exact same step with this second row up here. Back into this same section here of indentation. I want this section to be as wide as my roller. You can see that this section is actually a little bit thin, and I could make it fatter. At this point, I'm going to adjust my sections just slightly, and I'm going to take a little bit of hair out of this top section and put it into the bottom one so that I have the proper amount of hair in there. It's not going to take much. I'm again sliding that comb all along the scalp. I never lifted the tail comb from the scalp until I had gotten to the end of my part. I'll clip this section out, which remember, for future use, we're going to be doing this one half off base. But right now, we're just doing the indentation. What you do not want to have happen here is you do not want your rollers to line up exactly over top of it. If I put a section in here and it lined up perfectly, I'm going to start getting a split in the hair. And when I go to comb this out, this isn't going to look like one continuous fluid hairstyle. I'm going to be able to see each separate piece of roller. So we do this one, it's just simply a bricklaying technique. If you can think about bricks, they never get laid exactly on top of each other. You end up spacing them out so that the splits between the bricks, if you were laying bricks, would never be right on top of each other. So that's the same thing we're going to do with this. We're doing the bricklaying technique here. I can feel that my hair is getting a little bit dry, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a spritz all over. Combing the hair down nice and smooth right to the ends. Taking my roller. And again, the hair on this one, we want it to be rolling up. So my roller is sitting on top of the hair, and as long as this hair is wet enough, it will stick to that roller. As I'm rolling up, I'm still giving it a lot of tension, pulling down. And we're going to go up on top. And then now that I'm here, same thing, I'm going to put in one pin at the center. I'm going to actually put my pin on this side because it's going to stay out of the way for the moment on this one. So there's my one indentation roller, and I'm going to continue that for this entire section. In the crown section of the hair, we're going to do this all on base. Remember, that's the full volume in there, so you're going to be holding this at that 45 degree over here. So you're going to be really extending this away from yourself, and you may find that your arms are a little tired after a while after doing this section. Perfectly normal. Let's just roll through this and see what happens. I really want you to pay attention though in here, up on the top of the head. Again, I'm going to section out. I'm just going to leave out, this is going to be my first row. I'm still dealing with my bricklaying pattern in the back. And I want this to be as wide as my rollers. And so I've got that, and this one is going to be on base. So I'm going to be combing this right down from the root, directing this so that I'm at a 45 degree angle here. Okay? So all the way over, you're really stretching your arms there to get this out. And this is where if your mannequin has a terrible haircut, this is going to be a little bit more difficult because you'll find you'll have small hairs falling. Don't worry too much about it. At this point, I've just got to tuck in. I'm going to use my tail comb to tuck in a few of those extra ends there. And I'm going to come down. And remember, this on base roller should sit right on top of the base. And it does. And we're going to use one clip center base. Finish that top crown section where your rollers are sitting nicely up on top of the base for the full volume, and then we'll go back into the sides. Okay, I'm just here up in the side. Now we're going to be doing this one off base. So we want this to have the least amount of volume as possible. So you'll notice the clip, it could possibly get in your way. Just try to work around that there. Be very gentle. You don't have to be rammy with the mannequins or the hair. It can just be a slow process. Take your time. You shouldn't be frustrated as you're going through this. If it takes you, longer than you think, this is the first time you're working with this hair and with these rollers. So be patient with yourself as you're going through. I'll tell you what, this very first one, when we clip this, it has a few issues. One, it likes to bunch because I have this ear in the way. And the ear, I mean your client's going to have an ear too, it's going to make this bottom one not near as smooth as you would like it to be. You're just going to have to live with a little bit of imperfection in your roller set for this first one, because otherwise your pin is never going to go in there. If I pinned it exactly at the center base, it would have no hair to cling to, and that ear is making this just slightly a little bit curlier there. So we've got a little bit of imperfection, but we keep on going. We're going to take down the next piece of hair. Same exact thing here. We want this to be off base with our low volume, so this is going to be coming. Comb this as smooth as you can, right from the roots to the bottom. You can see I'm already having a few issues with that very last roller, and that's the nature of the first roller of an on base, and it also has to do with off base. Off base, they're a little bit looser because they're not as tightly secured to the head anyway. So even as I come up with this next one, I'm just going to be moving the pin of the other roller inside. This should be sitting off base. And then I'm going to put my roller in here, and you'll notice these are a little looser than the other ones that you've done. So you're just going to have to work with that as we go. There's a few little hairs coming around. All is not lost if you have these little hairs in here. That's not something your client's going to notice in the end if you have 1 or 2 hairs. Try to get them all in so that this is all clean. You shouldn't have a lot of hair stuck to the face, but just work with this as we go. Be easy on yourself when you're going through the first time. I'm going to keep going with these. Now it depends on which size you started with. You're going to notice at this point I no longer have any of the red rollers. So just switch to the next size down, which are these, I don't know, teal, turquoise, whatever you would call these ones, and use these ones for the rest of your roller set color. I ran out of the red, so we're going to have to use the next best thing.